On this edition of Fulton Law and Justice, justice partners come together to give people arrested but not convicted a chance to clear their records. The People's Clerk highlights the records restriction process, and Fulton's new solicitor is officially sworn in and is already tackling new initiatives. We'll hear from him directly in his Restorative Justice segment. I'm Jolene Butts Freeman. Law and Justice begins now. Welcome to Fulton Law and Justice, your inside look at the work of Fulton's justice partners. Today, we begin with how Fulton County is trying to give residents who found themselves on the wrong side of the law a second chance. For the second year in a row, Fulton officials have collaborated to help residents who've been arrested but have never been convicted. That's the focus of the Clerk of Superior Courts, the People's Clerk. Here's Madam Clerk, Kathleen Tina Robinson.
Hello and welcome to the People's Clerk. I am Kathleen Tina Robinson, and it is my honor to serve as your clerk of Fulton County Superior and Magistrate Court. Our office is mandated to properly process, secure, and house all criminal, civil, real estate, and Board of Equalization records that originate in Fulton County. And many of those criminal records involve cases where people have been arrested but never convicted. And as you know, an arrest record, even without a conviction, can hold a person back from getting jobs, housing, and much more. So our office is collaborating with other justice and community partners to give people in similar situations a chance to clear their records. Our Nicholas Cotton explains.
If you were arrested and your case was dismissed, closed, without a conviction, we're here to help you today.
For the second time in less than 6 months, residents fill the Martin Luther King Jr. Senior Community Resource Complex to learn how to clear prior arrests on their records.
This will help me by, if they are able to do it, it will not be on my record. That's one step I can move to elevate, in a positive direction and not be judged by something that's on my record before they actually meet me.
That's exactly what Fulton's justice and community partners hope happens during the series of records restriction events. But before residents can attend, they have to pre-register. That's what many were trying to do here.
There are a number of our citizens who are not in jail, but they are still serving time. They are serving time in the sense that they find themselves blocked outside of the doors of access whenever it's time to apply for an apartment, to apply for a loan, to apply for a job.
Representatives from all of Fulton's justice agencies have signed on with hopes of not only dealing with the backlog of cases at the courthouse, but also the bottleneck of problems it causes for people who can't move on with their lives. It's why officials decided to host more events this year. One participant who had his record restricted at the first event says the process has opened up numerous doors for him.
I filled out, pre-registered. It took a little while, but eventually it got done, and I'm very appreciative of that. And now with me, I'm an entrepreneur, and so this is not something that's going to stand in my way.
Reporting for the People's Clerk, I'm Nicholas Cotton.
Thanks, Nick. Shay Alexander is the chief of the Court Services Bureau in our office, and she has been directly involved in this process. Welcome, Chief Alexander.
Thank you for having me.
Would you please explain to our viewers exactly what a record restriction is?
A record restriction is where you have your record cleared for an arrest. If you were arrested and the case was dismissed or thrown out, or the prosecuting attorney decided not to move forward on your case, there's a process in which you can go through to have that taken off your record, and no one will be able to see it but law enforcement.
And who's eligible for a record restriction?
So there's a little confusion about what it really means. You're eligible for a record restriction if you were arrested. So the records are restricted on arrest, not convictions. So if you went to court and got probation, or if you pled guilty and did time, your record cannot be restricted. Only arrest can be restricted.
Okay. And how many restrictions can be a part of one application?
So there are 4 arrests, so you would have to complete one application, but there's a different form that says who arrested you and that kind of information. So you would fill out a different form for each arrest. So only one arrest per form, but there's only one application, but you would just have to complete several forms depending on how many arrests
And
that you wanted
for
us to.
every arrest.
For every arrest, there's a different form that goes with the application.
Okay. And speaking of various arrests, of course, we have various municipalities in Fulton County. So if I'm arrested, let's say in College Park, is College Park participating? Is that arrest a part of this summit?
That's a good question. We have reached out to all of the municipalities in Fulton County. So if your arrest took place in Fulton County, the agencies are participating and your records will be restricted.
What do I need? I'm excited. I think this is a great idea. I'm a person who has an arrest. It's been 3 years ago and, nothing has happened. So what is the first step that I should take?
So it's really life-changing. And because we have all of the partners collaborating, this is not a normal process. So you really don't need anything. You need to register, pre-register with your information, and the partners are doing everything for you. There's no running around. The fees are waived. You don't have to have copies of anything. You give us permission to run your background check, and we're going through your record to make sure that everything that can be restricted, that will be restricted.
Okay. And what if I have a first offender or conditional discharge case?
In those cases, the first offenders, the law has changed recently, and so the first offender cases are automatically restricted from 2013 moving forward. If you have a first offender prior to 2013 and you did not complete probation, that record cannot be restricted. However, if you completed the probation part of it, you would get a release from the probation department, which is the discharge. And once that discharge is done, you can get your record restricted. You can use this process to get it done, or you can just go to the probation officer where you were reporting to get that documentation done.
Okay, that sounds really great. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
A lot of people.
If a record restriction is complete, can the arrest still be seen by anyone?
And so keep in mind that the record restriction, when you run your criminal backgrounds, there are different codes you use. And so law enforcement, no matter what you do, will always be able to see the arrests for obvious reasons. But when you're talking about housing and you're talking about getting a job, when you're doing those avenues and they run your background, they would not be able to see it if your record was truly, truly restricted.
So when you say law enforcement, that's any law enforcement?
Any law enforcement. So if you got pulled over for a traffic stop and they had to run it, they would be able to see the arrest. And hopefully pulling up the arrest, they will see the disposition that the case was dismissed or what have you, but they will still be able to see the arrest.
If I'm one of the applicants and I've registered, I'm not able to register for whatever reason. Can my parent or spouse or anybody do it for me, or is it required that I do the process?
And so for the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, they are in charge of the criminal backgrounds. We are required for our certification that we only deal with the person. So it would not be fair for you to come in and say, for instance, try to get the record restricted for your daughter. We need to see her ID. We need to have her permission with her signature. So there's no way that someone can come in for another person to get that process started.
Okay, so I'm sure there are confidential reasons why that happens.
That is correct.
Okay. If an employer asks a record restriction participant if they have ever been arrested and they've gone through this process and it was dismissed during this process, can they say that they haven't been arrested because it's dismissed?
Okay, so you have to really pay close attention to the question. If the question says, have you ever been arrested? The answer is yes, if you've been arrested, whether your record is restricted or not, because you've been arrested. The next question, the follow-up question should be, and what was the outcome? But if it says, have you ever been convicted? You can say no.
Okay.
Because the conviction means that, you pled or whatever. But if the case was thrown out, no pros dismissed, that means that you were not convicted. So you have to be very careful. If it says arrest, it means arrest. But conviction means you can say no if your record is restricted.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people who really have success stories as relates to this process and this time. Do you know of any success stories that you've heard that you'd like to share?
This happened only a couple of weeks ago. A young lady went through the process. She went through the whole process, and her record was restricted. I was out, not at a Fulton County facility, and she came up to me and she was like, "Miss Alexander, can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "You might not know me, but I went through the last record restriction, and it changed my life." She said, "I was 17 and got caught up with something that I didn't have anything to do with, and I'm 35 now, and I'm just getting my first job."
Wow.
And so we shed a few tears, but it was really, it made it all worth it.
Right, and that's what it's about. But thank you so much for sharing with us and our viewers. Chief Alexander, you're the greatest. To learn more about the Record Restriction Summit or any of our services and other community initiatives, please visit us at one of our offices, call us, or check us out online. We take pride in assisting every Fulton County resident in every way that we can because we believe in doing the right thing, the right way, each time for every customer. I'm Kathleen Tina Robinson, and I am the People's Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. When we come back, meet Fulton's new solicitor. Our Restorative Justice segment is up next. Welcome back to Fulton Law and Justice. For the first time in 20 years, Fulton County has a new Solicitor General. And with the new SG comes new ideas. Hear about both in this first installment of Restorative Justice with Solicitor Keith Gammage, who has officially been sworn into service. Here's Kenya Johnson.
So help me God. So help me God.
In a packed room at the Fulton County Assembly Hall, family, friends, and colleagues witnessed Fulton Solicitor Keith Gammage take the oath of office. But before the public servant made it official, a number of longtime legal and civil rights supporters expressed their confidence in the job the new Solicitor General will now do.
Several years ago, the Marine Corps had this slogan, "Looking for a few good men." And as I look at our new solicitor, I certainly can say without hesitation or reservation, he is a good man.
The man that you see standing here is not just him. It's a generation after generation of people. And when you cut this man, he's gonna bleed. He's gonna bleed hard work. And when you cut him again, he's gonna bleed discipline. And if you dig down real deep into the bone, you're gonna get faith and hope and justice and mercy. That's your Solicitor General. That's who you have.
You have given me many reasons to be proud of the man you have become. But the proudest moment for me is telling others that you're my son.
I'm humbled and honored and enthused about serving as your Solicitor General. I'm touched. The Lord put me in this position where the stroke of my pen can bring the power of the state against someone. That should be humbling. Yes. We should fearfully make decisions that bring the force of the state against other citizens. Restorative justice means that we serve in a way that keeps kids in school. Our office is working. We are working in partnership with schools and churches, city groups. We're teaching real talk to young folks so that they don't make the tragic missteps that can get them ensnared in the criminal justice system. We're teaching it on the front end, because all of them didn't get the kind of love and values that I got. We're gonna give it to them in the form of restorative justice. So on this great day for us and for Fulton County, I am going to pause to give the first ever Solicitor General's Award for pursuing justice in education to this great educator, Mrs. Carolyn Young. And just so our great ambassador is not outdone, I'm going to ask you, Mrs. Young, to accept the Justice in Civil Rights Award from the Solicitor General's Office with our pledge to pursue justice and encourage education every single day. Thank you.
What a memorable event it was. You've just seen footage from the swearing in of the new Solicitor General, Keith Gammage. Many joined to witness the special occasion, and now it's time to meet the man behind the office and hear his plans for restorative justice in Fulton County. Mr. Gammage, congratulations on your recent installation. So tell us exactly, what does the Solicitor's Office do and what matters does it address?
Thank you so much. I'm excited about the new opportunity to serve in my hometown, Fulton County. And the Solicitor General's Office is the office that investigates and determines the merits of prosecution for misdemeanor and traffic matters that occur in Fulton County or within the municipalities that feed into Fulton County.
Okay. Now, we've heard a lot about restorative justice. Can you tell us, what does restorative justice mean to you?
Thank you for asking that question. So, restorative justice in general is an approach to criminal justice that looks at offender accountability, protecting victims and the overall community, while at the same time being sure that folks are treated fairly and that we're rooted in finding solutions to crime that are not simply incarceration. To me, it means being smart, being fair, and searching for solutions to the problems that affect the criminal justice system in our communities.
Now, second chances and many times third chances are needed for our youthful offenders. Can you tell us what drives your passion for restorative justice?
You know, Kenya, I think growing up in Southwest Atlanta, coming of age at a time when so many young people made missteps, having the opportunity to see firsthand families that pour great values into people, but still they made these missteps and ended up not being on the road to success. By having seen that at an early age, it sort of fueled a passion to me to serve my community. Being in the town that bred Martin Luther King Jr., I could not help but be passionate and compassionate about being of service to the community.
Well, your passion certainly comes through as you speak about the future of your office. Now, the office has been actively engaged in many community service events since you've been installed. Can you tell us what are some of your recent partnerships?
Thank you. So one of the things that's important to me is not just serving as prosecutor in the courthouse. Certainly that is appropriate. But to me, it's also important to go out into the community, to work with our faith leaders, community organizers, and civic leaders in a way that sort of tries to, at the front end, dissuade young people from committing offenses that lead them into the criminal justice system. So we partner with churches, we partner with schools. One of the engagements that I'm most happy about is our partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the opportunity to provide a real talk to young people. And in real talk, We are in the school systems working to educate young people long before they ever make a step into the criminal justice system, persuading them to follow the right path to success.
The Gammage Report, I've had a chance to read it. Can you tell our viewing audience what it is?
Yeah, so one of the things I discovered about the Solicitor General's office, aside from prosecuting about 50,000 cases annually, there's so many incidents that occur that give us the opportunity to find alternative solutions to traditional prosecution. I thought it important to let the community know what we're doing. So I took office January 3rd, and within about 2 weeks, we created the Gammage Report. We got just about 10,000 subscribers. And in that Gammage Report, we're giving community members an opportunity to engage us, by seeing what we're doing, what we're able to accomplish in the role of a prosecutor, and also providing an opportunity for them to have a forum with us. So it's a great, I think, endeavor, and we're getting a lot of accolades with regard to our Gammage Report.
Definitely a lot of information that you shared, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Prior to being elected, can you tell us your career path that led you to the Office of Solicitor General?
Yeah, so my path was probably untraditional for most prosecutors. Most prosecutors are rooted traditionally in only prosecution. I started my career as a public defender in Fulton County, really fighting with the protections afforded us through the Constitution, fighting to give poor people, indigent citizens, and those who really were the least among us an opportunity at justice. So I began my career fighting as a Fulton County public defender in the superior courts in Fulton County, protecting the rights of citizens, was recruited to become a prosecutor, went out to our neighboring county of Clayton, worked diligently, started to build newer models for approaching prosecution, then became a Chief Assistant Solicitor General, which is second in command in a Solicitor General's office. From that perspective, I learned how to administer justice more from the position of management. And then community leaders started to call and encourage me to seek the office of Fulton County Solicitor. And after much prayer, talk with my family, I decided to take upon this great challenge, and here we are today.
Certainly an interesting path that you were once a public defender and now you're a prosecutor. So does that equip you with the tools that it takes to make your prosecutorial cases?
Yeah, I think in any endeavor, having balance and an insight into the various positions certainly strengthens one's opportunity to look at a matter and determine what justice really is. So there's no doubt that having worked as a defense attorney, and I'll tell you this, I worked as a defense attorney on the most serious cases, murders, armed robberies, rapes, those type of cases. And so to take what I learned in those cases and then apply some of that experience to misdemeanors, hopefully affords me the best opportunity to dissuade these young offenders, young people, from committing crimes that lead to serious incarceration. So we've created new opportunities for alternatives. We're diverting about 15% of our cases through our newly created diversion programs. It means that we get treatment and assistance and help and sometimes a measure of punishment while at the same time protecting the community and ensuring that our young people have the opportunities for success that they deserve and second chances.
Wow. Well, certainly sounds like an interesting approach and definitely the definition of restorative justice. Mr. Gammage, we've just seen you sworn in, and now we've learned about your next steps in office. How can we stay engaged with the work that you're doing?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that we're focused on is making sure that we're accessible in the community. So we set out to expand our partnerships with faith leaders, with schools. We've got an upcoming program where we're going to be teaching folks about the right to have their records expunged or restricted. We'll be doing that in some of the malls around the county in the next couple of months. And then we've got a big upcoming record restriction seminar at my home church, which is Ebenezer Baptist Church. And we've brought in stakeholders collaborating to make sure that folks get an opportunity, those who deserve it and fit the criteria, to have their records cleaned so that they can have a renewed opportunity at employment and school and all of the opportunities for true citizenship. And so we're accessible online. Folks can certainly like our Facebook page. certainly go to our county page. Let me add this though, Kenya. One of the other things that I'm very proud about is this. We've created the first ever hotline in a Solicitor General's office where those folks who are suffering from having old criminal records hanging out there, so we have a great backlog in Fulton County, they can call our hotline and we can help navigate them through, and hopefully those who fit the criteria can have these records closed and expunged from their records without ever coming into the courthouse.
Interesting. Looks like you have some great initiatives on the forefront, and we will certainly stay tuned to what comes from the Solicitor General's office. Thank you for your vision, and we look forward to restorative justice both in practice and on FGTV in the upcoming months. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya, and welcome, Fulton Solicitor. We'll be right back to wrap up this edition of Fulton Law and Justice. Stay with us. Fulton County has committed itself to serving its residents in 6 priority areas. The strategic goal for Fulton's Justice Partners is making sure that all people are safe. Now on Fulton Law and Justice, we show you how Fulton's law enforcement and justice partners are doing that every day in how they serve and in the programs they provide to enhance the lives of people young and old. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Fulton Law and Justice. I'm Jolene Butts Freeman. We'll see you next time.